Welcome to FutureX, the podcast where we look to solve the variable that is the future of Web3. Every week, we'll talk with some of the brightest minds in the blockchain and Web3 space, from top investors to founders and builders, paving the way for a decentralized world. So what is the future of blockchain? What will Web3 look like in 2050? Let's explore together.
Welcome to FutureX, SynFutures podcast series highlighting some of the brightest minds in Web3. I'm Rachel Lin, your host today from SynFutures. So before today's discussion, I would love to give a little bit more background on our new directions. As FutureX has grown into a podcast with like tens of thousands of viewers and listeners with your support, it is crucial for us to focus on the most important parts of Web3 ecosystem, the people. In particular, about 50% of the total population who could perform just as good as the others, but are still largely underrepresented. Yes, the women. So going forward, FutureX would dedicate more episodes to women to share their success and challenges working as the industry pioneers. Today, we're very honored to have our guest today, Xiao Xiao, the investment director from HashKey. Hi, Xiao Xiao. Thanks for joining us. Could you give a little bit background about yourself and the fund?
Sure. Yeah. First of all, thanks, Rachel, for having me here, and glad to know about the FutureX episode. So, yeah, about HashKey Capital. So we are an Asia-based blockchain VC, and we started to invest in blockchain and crypto space since 2015. Actually, our first portfolio and our first investment was Ethereum. So we're like the early backer of Vitalik. But after that, we also backed like Polkadot or Cosmos and a lot of other ecosystems. So we are originally from mainland of China, but there is some like regulatory issue in there. So we moved our headquarters to Hong Kong and Singapore. Now we are like double headquartered here. So we are also running other crypto-related business like compliant exchange and also trading, primary brokerage, prime brokerage, and nodes operation, DID, DEX, several like Web3 native applications. So as for us, we are the asset management brand under the whole HashKey ecosystem. It's called HashKey Capital. So we're also running independent from the whole ecosystem because we also have external LPs. And now for the total AUM is something about $1 billion, and we can basically invest in anything related to blockchain and crypto. It's quite flexible towards the check size or stage, and we can both lead and follow. And by the way, although we based in Asia, our portfolio coming are all from everywhere in the world, like the US or the Europe, or even some frontier market like Africa, Latin America, or SEA, somewhere like this. So yeah, we're quite a comprehensive or ecosystem investor. Yeah, that's about our company. Yeah, and about me myself, I joined this space since 2017. I used to do like traditional VC investment. So I didn't see any like difference between Web2 VC or Web3 VC. It's still like the investment process or investment thesis is quite similar. But for certain sector, it might be a little bit different. So for myself, I find Web3 is so much more interesting than internet investment because there are always new concepts coming out almost every day or every week like this. So yeah, it's a quite self-driven industry, and I really enjoyed it.
Thanks for the intro. Yeah, you mentioned that a certain sector in Web2 investment is different than Web3. Can you explain a little bit more? Yeah, I'm curious about what is the difference. And since you said it is actually quite similar, what are the special part about Web3 that excites you most? Yeah.
So how is it similar? Because the investment process for a VC fund is quite similar because since they all do like due diligence or they talk with the founders and they try to verify everything the founder says and try to think about how the business will go in the future. So at this level, it's quite similar from the perspective of methodology, but the difference is from some features of the Web3. For example, for CeFi companies like crypto banks or maybe a crypto exchange, in Web2 world, you may need to verify everything based on maybe paperwork. For example, the bank transfer of like bank statements or maybe financial statements. But these kind of things can be faked, or you need to have a basic trust on those documents, and then you can think about whether this company is worth to invest. But in Web3, you don't need to trust all this paperwork because everything can be verified on chain. So you only need to ask for maybe a wallet address, like an operational address or the custodian address of the bank and the exchange. And then you can do your own research. You can do wallet analysis, and you can know everything by yourself. You don't need to trust the company itself. So yeah, that's a very big difference. And also for other like more crypto native projects, you can also verify all this protocol or all this code and all this transaction history on chain. So if it's forged or is it like wash trading, something like this, you can very easily to tell that. Yeah. And also in Web3, there's a very key player, which is the community. So if the business is really promising, you will get very positive feedback from the community. So it's also very easy to tell if the market likes the product or not. So that's I think it's a biggest advantage for Web3 companies or Web3 startups in terms of fundraising or the investments. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You also mentioned that HashKey is based in Asia while investing globally. Is there a unique thesis when you when you invest into different companies, or are there any unique features about HashKeys that differentiate itself from other funds?
Thesis. I think all the VC have very similar thesis. So it's like to look for right people, meaning the right founders with skill, with a high level of insight of this whole industry and skill set fits for what they want to do, and also have a strong connection and resources to bootstrap the business. That's for people, and also find right timing and right market. Yeah, that's I think that's most of the VC apply this kind of thesis. So for us, it's like we have a vision to help maybe Asia founders to bridge them into the US market or the European market, because we also have a very big presence there. And also for those US-based founders or US-based startups, we also help them to explore the market in Asia and help them to acquire more clients here. And also for founders from different market, we can share our insights towards different like regulation in different jurisdiction or the market situation there, because we have knowledge in like both both regions. So that's the biggest issues and value add for our portfolio companies.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, you talk about right team and right timing. That's definitely, I mean, the key factors for investment. Talking about timing, I mean, did your firm change the investment strategy last year, this year, especially, I mean, last half of 2022, when we see lots of crises and market dip a lot? If so, I mean, what are the changes?
Yes, it did change a little bit, but it's like we are adding, we are like increasing the standard of due diligence, but except for that, not many changes happened. So we will require more materials or more information when we make an investment decision. For example, as the wallet address I just mentioned in the example of CFI companies. So we will try to verify everything they said, and it's better to have all this information on chain. And also after the investment is done, we also have more set up more process or method to monitor this kind of portfolio. For example, we will have like a dashboard for all this, no matter it's DeFi or crypto native things, we have a dashboard for all this portfolio company and monitor how is the wallets going and what happens in a community. Is there any voting happening, or is there any like transaction, like suspicious transaction between the founder's account and the company's account? Yeah, so yeah, in terms of methodology, it did change a little bit, but for investment assets, nothing changes at all. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. You even build up dashboard for all the portfolio companies. Yes, you must have good knowledge about each sector's developments. Um, and you also mentioned about HashKey's presence in Asia and bridging the East and West world, right? I think the whole world is eyeing on Hong Kong recently with its announcement to support Web3 developments. What's your view on this? What does it mean for all those founders and projects? Do you have any suggestions?
Hong Kong, I think for at the regulation level, it seems to getting more and more friendly, but still not very clear how the what's the extent or how big is the stuff can the founders take or the Web3 companies take. But in Hong Kong, there's some like nature advantage for startups. For example, there are a lot of financial institutions here. So for DeFi project or for CFI project, it has the environment and it has a network here, which is a very strong network here. And also for metaverse or NFT gaming companies, it also has a very strong circle here, because the entertainment industry in Hong Kong is pretty established, and a lot of like famous people here and celebrities here, and a lot of IPs is from Hong Kong. So I think those two sectors are pretty promising. But for the other sectors like technology or maybe infrastructure, for me, I prefer to monitor a little bit and to see how is the regulation going. Is it really clear, and is it really easy for startups to do like fundraising or to do go to public market? Public capital market here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you mentioned about for infrastructures and other sectors, then DeFi and NFT metaverse, we could also still employ a wait and see strategy, right? I think part of the enthusiasms about Hong Kong is in direct contrast with the recent setback SEC in the US. We're hearing lots of news coming out there. What's your view on this? Do you think that more jurisdiction would be also open for Web3, or the whole world is, changing its stance on cryptos and embracing more regulations? Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like that in Asia, many regions they encourage Web3 or encourage founders to come here, but in Europe, the regulation is also gets more and more strict. But that's not a negative sign because it's more like we're setting up the rules, and if you obey the rules, you can do business here. So I suppose that's a good signal for the whole industry. But in the US, it's a somehow a tough place to go. So I actually find a lot of institutions they're like long Asia. They think very highly of Asia in this market because Asia people they're very good at product building, and they know how to build a very user friendly application, and at the same time the founders and the developers somehow they're also moving away from the US market and to or maybe moving away from centralized ways and to have trials, have new initiatives in decentralized world. So in this case, I think you're right. The SEC do have big impact on the whole market, but people have own way to deal with that. Either to go to some place where it's very friendly to Web3, or to go to a decentralized way and to not escaping from regulation, but to set up a more permissionless platform for all these use cases. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, one thing that a builder needs to pay attention to is definitely the regions. While I think the other factors that we should look at is also the sectors, right? Of in terms of different sectors, which one do you anticipate significant growth in the next 1 or 2 years?
1 or 2 years, I suppose it should be application layer or maybe tooling layers, because so far we've already got a lot of infrastructures like layer 1, layer 2, or database, data warehouse, something like this. But the next step is to try to use these infrastructures. So we think which is promising is the middle layer, for example, like developer tools, or maybe the platforms helping to onboard user from Web2 sector, or helping to onboard developer from traditional internet companies. And also for applications. We think the cycle is like infrastructure rise, and then application follows, and then they create new demand, or they find out new problem, and then it goes back to the infrastructure to have more and more improvements. So the next 1 or 2 years should be focused on application or the real use cases, what they want, what they need, and what the developers need, what the users need. So that's what we're thinking. And by the way, I think for this kind of sectors, Asian people really have an advantage towards that, because in the US market, they are all have a very big or fundamental revolutions concepts, but in Asia, the developers or the founders, they have the ability to leverage those infrastructure and put them into real use cases. So I think it's very interesting to see the migrate and a lot more and more like Western-based institutions. They also think very highly of Asian project. So yeah, I suppose there will be a trend for like Western to Asia, at least in VC sector. Yeah.
It's quite interesting you mentioned about some of the projects that helping like Web2 developers entering into the Web3 worlds. Are there any project at mind that you could think about, or I mean, like what are they doing to help those Web2 developers? I understand that right now a lot of builders from Web2, both Western and Eastern world, are interested in the space, but yes, it's very hard for them at the very first beginnings to learn how to really, I mean, be part of it, given the information flow.
Yes, I think one good example could be like wallets, for example, MPC wallets or keyless wallets. So it just look like normal bank accounts or wallet accounts for traditional users. They don't need to like keep all this private key or memorize those the seed words or they just need to have a mobile phone and have an email account, and they can get access to all these wallet functions. And then after the wallets, it can very seamlessly get into those crypto native applications like DeFi, DEX, or DeFi derivatives exchange, or even some like Web3 social applications. So that's a very good tools to for all kinds of application to onboard traditional users. Yeah, and the other thing is maybe on off-ramp. So we can see more and more DeFi protocols are integrating on off-ramp service providers. So it's like for traditional users, they can put directly the fiat money into DeFi protocol. So that's also a good tool. And most importantly, for the startups, they need to build these tools very user friendly, and they need to think into very detailed demand. So that's a big challenge for them. But the demand of these kind of tools are really huge, and the timing is pretty good for them. Yeah, that's well, just an example.
Yeah, the timing is certainly good. One is that more and more people is paying more attention here, and the other, I think the traditional player, I would say, might be suffering from some of the regulatory like obstacle. Like today, I also saw Gemini, JP Morgan might be breaking up the deal. Yeah. Interestingly, I think these are also the parts where you mentioned about, I mean, the Asian developers and middle layer developers would be good at. So we talk about the promising sector. How about the opposites? Are there any sectors you view I think overhyped for the past few years might eventually fizzle out?
Overhyped, I would say maybe PFP, the NFT part. Yeah, it's a little bit overhyped, but now we are seeing that it's phasing out, and yeah, people are looking for real use case for NFT as a tool. Maybe, for example, leverage NFT technology into marketing or into loyalty program, into membership or fund engagement, something like this. But PFP, I think it's really phasing out a little bit. But for those top ones like Bored Ape or Punks, they're still there. So yeah, that's an example. And the other things, we observe a lot of sectors are a little bit overpriced, but that was in the bull market, so it's we can accept that. But now we see the prices decreasing a little bit. That for example, in gaming sector or in metaverse sector, because for metaverse, people haven't found out a very clear logic for that, very clear thesis for that. The big brands, they definitely need metaverse, but is it the right timing? It's still a question. So especially the macro economy is not very good. So maybe some brands will cut budgets on new business, for example, like LVMH, they may cut some budget on Web3 trials. So yeah, that's another overpriced one, but it's not phasing out, just decrease in terms of valuation a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. We are, still in the bear market now. And in the bear market, I think like quite some founders are still considering whether to expand, hire good people when lots of others are cutting, or stays healthy cash flow to run for enough year to survive the crypto winter, right? I mean, for you, given the current market condition, do you have any advices for builders?
For builders, maybe save money. So yes, just spend the money in a smart way. So you need to calculate the ROI and be cautious about hiring people, because actually in this market, it's better to keep the team lean and keep everything functioning. And also for marketing, maybe save some budget for marketing, because in this market, even though you maybe put a lot of efforts and time into marketing, and the awareness is not that efficient actually. So yeah, for startups, I would suggest them to focus more on building and spend the money, save some money. Think about the wrong way, and in this market, it might be hard to raise another round. So yeah, spend money smartly.
Yeah, golden rule. And just now I'll also share with you a little bit on our new direction for the FutureX podcast. Is I think like women are still underrepresented in the industry, and it's very excited to see you as a women's, looking after such a large portfolios, being the investment director in Web3, and we'd love to learn more from your view, your perspective on women in Web3. Say, for example, a lot of the obstacles have now been openly discussed, right? Pay inequalities, among others. Do you see that often from your personal experience in Web3 as well?
In Web3, no. I think Web3, well, this industry is like treating everyone very equal. So and it brings a lot of flexibility, especially for maybe for founders or for investors. So they can base in any country they like. So for builders, maybe most of the builders, they work in a very decentralized way, and you maybe even you've never seen your colleague for several years like this. So it's very easy to make like work-life balance, but this rule is also works for men. So you can take care of your families, and at the same time you can nail your jobs. So this is a very big advantage for Web3, and I think Web3 also brings some some troubles, not that big trouble, but there is some difference with Web2 as well. So in this industry, it's like you need to migrate a lot, especially when the regulation getting more and more like strict, and you need to migrate from this region to another region. And also if the market is not there, because you can see there's still like difference between the demand from the US or demand from Asia. So if the US fits better for your business, you the Asian founders or investors, they might need to migrate to the US. So Web3 is it's like a lot of migration happening in this industry. Yeah, so that might be a little bit tough for both women and men, but I still think it's more flexible than Web2, because I did see a lot of like pay cuts or a lot of women having trouble with the maternity leave in Web2, and also people think women cannot deal with technology part. They can only do like consumer investment or maybe some other like with 2C investment. So that I don't see that happening in Web3. So still Web3 treats people so much more equally than Web2. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I believe as well. I mean, a lot of the traditional obstacle for women, say physical strengths or during the transition periods, the housework burden are slowly being eliminated also by the technology. Web3 is more digital in nature, so this also offer a very good working environment for women. But the other day I encountered someone, an event planners, and she mentioned why she's still not seeing a lot of women speakers in all those large conferences. What's your thought about that? Why is that? If women could perform just as good, and with this flexible working hours, it should be equal shares of voice for both, right?
Yeah. Actually, I see. I don't see any difference between women and men in Web3. It's in our company, in our investment team, it's like half and half. And I do think, no matter it's like consumer sector or application sector or infrastructure or technology oriented sector, it's always the numbers it's always equal. And for the industry, I also see a lot of women founder and also women investors. So I didn't see didn't see the problem you mentioned before. So yeah, cannot add too many comment on that.
That's great. Yeah. For ourselves in Futures, the other day I have accounts. Also, almost 50% of the workforce are women. So it's exciting to learn that from investment fund perspective. It's almost the same. Yeah. And then you enter the Web3 space from a traditional investor. You work with equity investment before, right? Are you inspired by any women in both Web2 or Web3 investments? And if so, are there any supporters of you?
To be honest, the one who brought me into this space is a man. But I do see a lot of brilliant women in this sector. Like for example, maybe some women like this. So, at the founder side, also like you, and in Silicon Valley, there's a lot of women founders as well. So in our portfolio, I would say the percentage is definitely higher than in Web2. So that could be an inspiration for me, but I just getting very used to it. So yeah, there are too many like great female investor founders or other kind of business developers in this sector. So I'm quite used to that.
Yeah, if just some women happen to listen to your podcast today and get inspired and would love to enter into this industry, do you have any advices for them? Yeah, how should they start?
Yeah, I would say be more brave. Yeah, because if you really understand this whole industry, you can see that there's really no difference between women and men. If you want to maybe give birth to a child, nobody will think less of you, and you are always on the position because in this industry, everybody just want to catch up with the market voluntarily. So nobody will care if you are a woman or a man. Sometimes a contributor or maybe a developer, they only have a fake name or nickname online, and nobody knows even you're a female or a male. So it's really an result-oriented sector. So if you want to contribute, you can go ahead, and everybody have the same opportunity to prove themselves. So yeah, just to be brave and join and see how it's going on. So you have a lot of opportunity to try and to prove that you're just as good as a man.
That's encouraging to hear. Yeah. So, I mean, as time's limited, and before we finish, could I also ask about your thoughts? I mean, imagine it's like 10 years from now, what would Web3 be like? Has it gone mainstream? Would it replace the traditional markets? And what would the future look like for you?
In 10 years, I would say there's definitely be a coverage between Web2 and Web3. So maybe nobody will call it Web3 again. So maybe it's like just like what internet looks today. So it's really a massive adopted tools, and everybody can have token on the wallet, and everybody knows what token is, what blockchain is, what decentralized society looks like. So you can control your own data, you can control of your own identity, and you can set up your own credit history, and you don't need to count on a bank or a centralized platform to give you authentication or endorsement. You can have a lot of way to prove that you're a good person and you have a high credit profile, and you are what you are. Yeah.
We look forward to a future like what you have just described. Thank you so much, Xiao Xiao. Yeah, thank you today.
Well, yeah, thank you for having me here, and great talking to you.
Great talking to you.
Thanks for listening to the FutureX podcast. Subscribe on Spotify or wherever you're listening to this episode.